Y'all, Tiffany Henyard has officially hit rock bottom. And guess what? She just admitted she's broke as hell. But that's not even the craziest part. She's straight up begging regular folks like us for money to keep up her lavish lifestyle. Kanamani, you believe this? This is the same woman who used to throw money around like it grew on trees. Now she's on GoFundMe asking for handouts. It's honestly embarrassing. She went from acting like a queen, living off taxpayer money, to pleading for cash. We're talking about someone who once spent nearly $200,000 on welcome banners alone. Now, she can't even pay her bills. The irony is real. This is the same Tiffany who lived like royalty at the expense of the hard-working people of Dalton. Fancy trips, a $1 million security team following her every move. She had it all. And if that wasn't bad enough, there are now allegations that she personally borrowed millions of dollars, using city infrastructure as collateral. Y'all, this is beyond messy. The creditors are coming for her, and they want their money back. And let's just say, things are not looking good for Tiffany, or for the people of Dalton. But before we dive deep into her debts, let's talk about how Tiffany treated taxpayer money like her personal piggy bank. Imagine this. She spent more money on welcome banners than some families in Dalton make in an entire year. That's insane. Let's break it down. Tiffany spent $99,000 on one welcome banner. That alone is ridiculous. But then she turned around and spent an additional $119,000 on banners with her face plastered all over them. Meanwhile, the average household income in Dalton is under $30,000 a year. Think about that. She spent more on banners than many people in her town make in an entire year. The woman was completely out of touch with reality. Maybe if she stepped outside and took a deep breath, she'd realize how expensive everything has gotten. But no. Instead of being responsible, she continued throwing money around while her town was drowning in debt. And it gets worse. While Tiffany was out here living it up, Dalton was falling apart. The fire department has been without a contract for 5 whole years. The people risking their lives daily to protect others can't even get a proper agreement in place. Meanwhile, Tiffany was out here blowing thousands of dollars on welcome signs. And let's not forget about her little Vegas trips. While Dalton residents were struggling to make ends meet, Tiffany was allegedly out in Sin City, living her best life. And that $1 million security detail? A total waste of money. The town paid hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for a security team that was basically her personal entourage. Some officers were making over $133,000 in a single pay period because of overtime. That's more than some people in Dalton make in 3 or 4 years combined. It's like she forgot she was a mayor and started acting like a full-blown celebrity. But here's the difference. Real celebrities use their own money. Tiffany, she was using taxpayer dollars. Now, here we are, and the town can't even pay its bills. The company that made all those ridiculous welcome banners, they're still waiting to be paid, and they're not the only ones. Tiffany didn't just misuse public money. She took out personal loans too. We're talking millions of dollars. And guess what? Now she can't pay it back. It's almost like she thought the money would never run out. But guess what? It always does. Dalton is in crisis mode. The police department's vehicles are at risk of being repossessed because the town can't pay its debts. Imagine calling 911, only to find out there are no squad cars available because they got taken away. What's next? Are the cops supposed to roll up to emergencies in Uber rides? This is the reality Dalton is facing. All because Tiffany couldn't control her spending. And if you thought her reckless spending was bad, wait until you hear about her little side hustle. Y'all, this woman somehow figured out a way to turn moldy walls into cold hard cash. That's right. She wasn't just blowing through taxpayer money. She was allegedly running scams on the side too. Let's talk about Section 8 housing. This program exists to help low-income families find decent places to live. But Tiffany allegedly saw dollar signs and decided to take advantage of the system. She owned a rental property and was getting government subsidies through Section 8. But here's the problem. Her property was falling apart. We're talking about severe mold, water damage, the whole 9 yards. But did she care? Apparently not. She allegedly kept cashing those Section 8 checks without fixing a thing. By November 2019, the place was declared uninhabitable. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Wrong. Tiffany allegedly continued to collect payments without doing any repairs. And how did she get away with it for so long? Well, let's just say the inspection process for her property was shady as hell. It's like she thought she could ignore the problems and keep raking in the money. But while she was playing slumlord, real people were suffering. The tenants in her building were already struggling, and they had to live in conditions that would make your skin crawl. Meanwhile, Tiffany was pocketing government money meant to ensure these folks had a safe place to live. It's disgusting. This isn't just about one rundown apartment. This is part of a bigger pattern of Tiffany's mismanagement and corruption. Every time you turn around, there's another scandal tied to her name. Financial mismanagement, allegations of corruption, you name it, she's involved in it. But you know what's really making people angry? The fact that she acts like she's untouchable. While her tenants were dealing with leaky ceilings and black mold, she was out here throwing taxpayer money at fancy trips and oversized welcome signs. She forgot that she was supposed to be serving the people, not herself. Now, you might be wondering, what's going to happen to Tiffany? Well, let me tell you, when you mess with the government's money, things usually don't end well. We're talking about potential legal consequences, full-blown investigations, the whole 9 yards. And with everything else going on, this Section 8 scandal might just be the thing that finally takes her down. Here's the kicker. While all this drama was unfolding, Tiffany was still out here acting like nothing was wrong. She was still sitting in the mayor's seat, making decisions for Dalton, all while the FBI was digging into her finances. It's like she thought she could just sweep everything under the rug and no one would notice. Well, guess what? The FBI definitely noticed. And they are not playing around. They've launched a full-blown criminal investigation into her financial dealings and the things they're finding. Let's just say it's not looking good for Tiffany. This is a major fall from grace. She went from living large to being under federal investigation. And the feds are going all in. They've issued subpoenas, looking into every financial transaction she's ever made. They're leaving no stone unturned. And what they're uncovering is wild. Turns out Tiffany wasn't just blowing money on banners and Vegas trips. The investigation is revealing that she allegedly used taxpayer money for all sorts of personal luxuries, expensive vacations, an over-the-top security team, and more. It's like she thought being mayor gave her a blank check to live like a queen. And here's where things get really interesting. The authorities brought in former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to oversee the investigation. Yep, they called in the big guns. And Lori isn't playing around. She's uncovering financial mismanagement left and right under Tiffany's administration. Every time they look into something, more shady business comes to light. So, how's Tiffany handling all of this? Well, let's just say her public image is in the gutter. The people of Dalton are furious. They're demanding accountability, and they want her out. One thing's for sure. Tiffany's days of living the high life on taxpayer money are coming to an end. And when the dust settles, she might not just be broke. She might be facing some serious legal trouble too. The town is in chaos, and everyone wants answers. It feels like the whole community has turned against Tiffany. But can you blame them? People trusted her to lead, to make the right decisions for the town, and instead, they're now facing a financial disaster. And it's not just regular folks who are speaking up. Local business owners and former employees have started sharing what they know, and the FBI is all ears. They've been interviewing people left and right, collecting evidence, and piecing together the full picture of Tiffany's alleged misconduct. It's like a never-ending line of people coming forward, and you can bet they have a lot to say. The FBI isn't taking this lightly. They're not just asking questions. They've brought out the big guns. Electronic surveillance is now in play, which means Tiffany is being watched closely. Every move she makes is under scrutiny, and they're waiting for her to slip up. This isn't just some minor investigation. This is serious, and the authorities are determined to get to the bottom of it. As the heat turns up, Tiffany is scrambling to save herself. She's pointing fingers, trying to shift the blame onto her former chief aide, Keith Freeman. According to her, she relied on him for financial decisions, making it seem like he was the one calling the shots. But Tiffany, you were the mayor. The responsibility falls on you. You can't just wash your hands of this mess and expect people to believe you had no idea what was going on. Instead of facing the consequences, Tiffany has decided to pull a disappearing act. It's like she vanished into thin air. The town of Dalton is left hanging without leadership, and the situation is getting worse by the day. Can you imagine if your boss just stopped showing up to work for months? They'd be fired in an instant. But somehow Tiffany thinks she can just ghost the town and everything will be fine. Her absence isn't going unnoticed. She has skipped more than 25 board meetings and has avoided public appearances completely. It's gotten so bad that the village board had no choice but to appoint trustee Jason House as the temporary mayor. That's right. Tiffany's job had to be handed off to someone else because she couldn't even bother to show up. Meanwhile, Dalton is drowning in debt, and the people are the ones left to deal with the consequences. Millions of dollars have vanished, and now the town is struggling to keep the lights on, all thanks to Tiffany's reckless spending. You'd think she'd be worried about the town's financial collapse. But no. Instead, word on the street is that she's desperately selling off her personal belongings because she's completely broke. It turns out the luxury lifestyle she enjoyed so much has finally caught up with her. She was living like a queen, but now she's scrambling just to get by. Back in Dalton, things are going from bad to worse. The board is frustrated, the town is in financial ruin, and residents are furious. People feel betrayed because Tiffany was supposed to work for them, not treat the town's funds like her personal piggy bank. And now, with millions of dollars in debt, people are left wondering how they got stuck with a mayor who cared more about herself than the community she was elected to serve. But the drama doesn't stop there. While Dalton struggles to recover, Tiffany is busy pointing fingers at anyone she can. Her go-to scapegoat? Keith Freeman. She claims he was the one making all the big financial decisions, trying to paint herself as an innocent bystander. But let's be real. She wasn't just sitting in the mayor's office twiddling her thumbs. She was the one in charge, and now she's trying to act like she had nothing to do with the mess. The lawsuits are piling up faster than anyone can keep track of. Former employees are coming forward with shocking claims. One former HR manager says she was fired for refusing to cover up public records. Another employee alleges that he lost his job because he refused to go along with a shady plan to replace a school attorney. It's like working for Tiffany was a game of do what I say or you're out. And it wasn't just employees who suffered. Business owners in Dalton felt the heat too. Take Lawrence Gardner, for example. He claims that Dalton police harassed him and even revoked his business license just because he refused to donate to one of Tiffany's events. If that's true, it's nothing short of a shakedown. Tiffany was throwing around money like it grew on trees, but as it turns out, a lot of that cash wasn't even hers to begin with. She was borrowing left and right, and now, those debts are coming back to haunt her. People are filing lawsuits to get their money back, and creditors are demanding what they're owed. It's becoming clear that Tiffany wasn't running a town. She was running a financial disaster. And here's where things get really wild. Tiffany didn't just borrow money from people. She used city infrastructure as collateral. That's right. She put up public property to secure loans, even though that property didn't belong to her. Now, those creditors want their money, and they're knocking on Dalton's door, ready to seize whatever they can. The feds are deep into their investigation, and Keith Freeman, Tiffany's former right-hand man, seems to be cooperating. It looks like her attempt to blame him has completely backfired. He might just be ready to spill all the secrets about what was really going on behind closed doors. If that happens, who knows what other shady deals could come to light. Just when you think Tiffany couldn't get any more desperate, she pulls another stunt that has everyone talking. Instead of taking responsibility, she's turned to the internet for help. Yes, Tiffany has started a GoFundMe page. The same woman who threw around taxpayer money like it was Monopoly cash is now begging for donations. It's almost unbelievable. After all the extravagant spending, the luxury trips, the shopping sprees, the ridiculous security detail, she's now asking regular people to send her money. And for what? To cover her legal fees? To pay off debts she racked up while treating Dolton's budget like a bottomless ATM? The people of Dolton aren't buying it. They're not just angry, they're laughing at the audacity of it all. How does someone go from living like a celebrity to begging for handouts? It's like she thought the money would never run out, and now she's shocked that reality is catching up with her. Instead of investing, saving, or even thinking ahead, she blew through millions. And now, she expects the public to bail her out yet again? People are suspicious. Is Tiffany really broke? Or is this just another scheme? She has a history of playing games with money, and some believe this is just her latest trick. Maybe she plans to collect donations and then vanish once again. It wouldn't be the first time she disappeared when things got tough. Meanwhile, Dolton is still a mess. The police department is struggling, emergency services are underfunded, and the town's credit is ruined. If anything, Dolton itself should be the one starting a GoFundMe, not Tiffany. But instead of helping fix the disaster she created, she's focused on saving herself. Despite everything, some people are still falling for her act. Tiffany has managed to raise over $155,000 through GoFundMe, proving that there are still folks willing to believe her sob story. But let's be honest, that's not going to make a dent in the millions she owes. It's like trying to put out a wildfire with a cup of water. While she collects donations, the people of Dolton are left to pick up the pieces. They're dealing with the damage she left behind, and they're not about to forget what happened. The comments online say it all. People are calling her arrogant, out of touch, and completely reckless. So what's next? Will the feds finally step in and hold her accountable? Will she try another trick to avoid consequences? One thing is clear. The people of Dolton are done being played. They want real leadership, real accountability, and real answers. Tiffany might be able to dodge responsibility for now, but sooner or later, the truth always comes out.